It's a game played by literally millions and watched by billions. It can even stop wars. But how on earth did a simple ball game get to be the most powerful sport on the planet? Well, today we're going to find out. We are kicking through the surprising and sometimes pretty brutal history of football. So, just to get a sense of the scale we're talking about, let's start with this one number 240 million. According to FIFA, that's how many people regularly play football. It's way more than just a sport, you know? It's like a global language, spoken in over 200 countries. And when you see a number that big, you've got to ask the question, how? How did a simple game of just kicking a ball around turn into this global obsession? To get that answer, we need to go back in time, like way back. Yeah, long before the giant stadiums and the multi-million-dollar contracts, the story of football really just begins with a basic human urge, the desire to kick a ball. And what's so wild is that this urge just popped up in different forms all over the ancient world, totally independent of each other. This wasn't just one game. We're talking dozens of them. In China, you had Kuju, which was this disciplined military exercise with nets for goals. Meanwhile, in ancient Greece, they were playing episkairos, a super violent, hands-on free-for-all. The Romans took that and made it their own with herpastum, which was kind of like rugby. Over in Japan, kemari was way more graceful, almost ceremonial. And then, halfway across the world, you had indigenous peoples in North America playing Pasukwaka Hohowag, a massive game with hundreds of players on a field a mile long. So the takeaway is pretty clear. The instinct to play was everywhere, even if the rules were, well, they were all over the place. And that lack of universal rules, it led to one thing, pretty much everywhere: pure chaos. Which brings us to the medieval period, a time of just glorious mayhem on the pitch. It makes it so clear why rules were about to become absolutely essential. Seriously, forget about nice green pitches and referees. Games like Calcio Storico in Florence were less like a sport and more like a citywide brawl. I mean, we're talking hundreds of players, way more wrestling and punching than actual kicking, and almost no rules. This wasn't the beautiful game yet. It was beautiful chaos. And it was obvious that for this thing to ever evolve, something had to give. So, how do you tame that kind of chaos? How do you get from a citywide riot to the game we watch today? Well, it all comes down to one meeting, one big argument, and one rule so controversial it literally split the world of football right in two. Picture this. The year is 1863. The place is the Freemasons Tavern in London. A bunch of guys from England's top clubs and schools all get together with this one super ambitious goal: create a single, unified set of rules that everyone could play by. It was time to bring some order to the madness. Now, they actually agreed on most things, but the entire meeting, the whole future of the sport, hinged on one single brutal practice: hacking. And yep, it is exactly what it sounds like: intentionally kicking your opponent in the shins to get the ball. Hacking really was the sticking point. But this wasn't just a simple disagreement. This was a total culture clash. For some folks, hacking was a test of toughness, of grit, right? But for others, it was seen as ungentlemanly, thuggish, and just a barrier to a more skillful, elegant game. The room was completely divided. And here's how that single disagreement changed sports history forever. Okay, so step one. The new Football Association, they're leaning towards skill over brute force, and they vote to ban hacking. Step two. The delegate from Blackheath FC, a club that loved the rougher game, gets up in protest and dramatically walks out. And that leads to step three. The line is drawn in the sand. One path leads to the football we know today. The other path leads to rugby. All because of a fight over kicking each other in the shins. Okay, so with shin kicking officially off the table, association football is born. And from that one little tavern in London, the game begins this rapid, totally unstoppable journey to conquer the world. And things moved so fast. Just 9 years after that meeting, in 1872, we get the very first FA Cup and the first official international match. By 1886, the IFAB is created to be the ultimate guardian of the rules. 2 years after that, the first Pro Football League kicks off. And then finally, in 1904, FIFA is formed in Paris to take the game truly global. So the point is, in just 40 years, football went from an argument in a pub to a structured international sport. And all that brings us to today. Because let's be honest, the story of football isn't just about rules and leagues, right? It's about its incredible power as a cultural force. a power that can be used for some breathtaking unity, but also for some pretty heartbreaking division. And this power, it isn't some abstract idea. It has massive real-world consequences. On one hand, you have this incredible story from the Ivory Coast in 2006. The country's in the middle of a brutal civil war. The players, after qualifying for the World Cup, they get on TV and plead for peace, and it helps secure a nationwide truce. A football team literally helped stop a war. But then there's the flip side, the dark side. In 1969, simmering tensions between El Salvador and Honduras just exploded after a hostile World Cup qualifier, and it triggered an actual military conflict known as the Football War. So what is this whole journey from ancient China all the way to a modern World Cup? What does it all tell us? It leaves us with this one final, really powerful question. Can a simple game, a set of rules, truly be more powerful than politics and war and all the things that divide us? History seems to show us that the answer, remarkably, is yes, in all its beautiful and sometimes very complicated glory.